DarkAce narrative.
When I was probably 13, my family and I were on our way home from a Wednesday night church service. My mom was in the driver's seat and I was behind her in the back. My 5-year-old brother was in the middle and my 10-year-old sister on his other side. We were just down the road from the church, but it was a country road and late, so there was no light and no one else on the road. We were just coming up to our turn when all of a sudden a car comes swerving from our turning spot. This little car was taking the turn so fast that they came into our lane and almost hit us. We swerved as they tried to get in their own lane before we collided. Unfortunately for them, they overcorrected and their car flipped and landed on the driver's side door in the ditch. My mom of course hits the brakes and immediately jumps out of the car to go help whoever was in the car. She got about 3 steps away from the car and stopped dead in her tracks. My sister and I are sitting there with our mouths hanging wide open, having no clue what to do. All I could think is, this isn't actually happening to us. This kind of stuff only happens in movies. But why isn't my mom going to help the person? It was summer, so we had all our windows halfway down. I heard a person start yelling help from the car and my mom starts moving again to help him. But for some reason she stops again in the center of the road. Another car flies us behind us and the guy doesn't hesitate to jump out and run up to the car to help. The man gets to the car and starts prying the passenger door open so the guy in the car can get out. I can see my mom wants to run and help, but it's like she can't move from that spot. The good Samaritan that pulled up behind us is able to get the door popped open. The guy from inside crawls out the door and gets into a frog-like crouching position on top of the car. At this point my mom starts taking shuffle steps back to the car. When I look back at the guy, he has this crazy look on his face. He looks directly at our car and my mom and launches himself off the top of the car and hits the guy who was helping him. He starts running for our car. At the same time my mom turns and runs for our car. He must have knew he couldn't get to our car before my mom did, because he changed directions and moves to the car behind us. My mom jumps in and locks our car doors just as the guy jumps in the empty driver's seat of the car behind us. He slams on the gas before he has even closed the door and almost hits our car, taking off a second time. Next thing we know, the guy who was just carjacked runs up to my mom's window and starts screaming and knocking on the window. My mom is of course shaken and doesn't want to roll down the window, so she settles for cracking it so we can understand what he is saying. He is yelling, asking us to call 911 because his phone was in the car along with his girlfriend. So of course my mom starts searching for her phone to call, but because she is so frantic from what just happened that she can't seem to find it. So I take a break from keeping my little brother and sister calm and dial 911 on my phone and hand it to her. While she is explaining what happened to the 911 operator, we hear a woman scream down the road. The man that was at our window takes off running and a few minutes later comes back with a severely scraped up woman in his arms that turned out to be his girlfriend. My mom unlocks the doors at this point and he sets her in the passenger seat while we wait for the cops. The girlfriend told us that he noticed her while he was speeding off and tried to hit her, but she scratched and punched at him, and while trying to plead with him to stop the car, he kept coming at her though and finally rolled down the window and pushed her out, going about 60. The cops finally show up and talk to all of us to get our stories. While talking to one officer, he told my mom that the man had shot and killed a man behind some apartment complex. That's why he was driving so fast and trying to get away. When we finally got home, we were all told to go to bed, but of course I wouldn't be able to sleep that night. So I went downstairs to talk to my mom. I worked up the courage to ask her why she stopped running to the car when the other guy didn't. She told me she had such a strong feeling that she should stay in the car with us that it was almost like she could hear it. When she heard him start yelling for help, she ran to help again, but just like last time, she got the overwhelming feeling not to go to the car. To this day I wonder what would have happened if my mom hadn't listened to that feeling. The guy could have easily overpowered her and gotten to the car if she had been any further away.